My name's Mark, I'm 33, and I've always been the cousin on the fringe. Not by choice, just the way things shook out in our family. My mom passed when I was 12, and after that, Dad sort of drifted from the rest of the family. He was never close with his siblings to begin with, and after losing her, he didn't really have the energy to keep up with birthday parties and Sunday dinners. I don't blame him, but it meant that I grew up a little outside the bubble of our extended family. I was still invited to things, barely. My name would be tacked on at the end of the group text, always sent by someone who didn't realize they were supposed to leave it out this time. You know the type. Still, I always showed up when I could. I'd bring a nice bottle of their favorite drink, or a dessert from the bakery near my place that everyone raved about when it was someone else who brought it. I'd make small talk. I'd compliment outfits. I'd ask about jobs and kids. But the truth? I was more like background noise. The family prop that wandered in and out of frame. So when I got an invite to my cousin Ava's engagement party, I was surprised. Genuinely. Ava's always been my Aunt Linda's golden girl, class president, Ivy League, picture-perfect fiancé named Bryce who works in finance and apparently does CrossFit in the mornings because he's disciplined like that. I figured they had their tight circle, their Pinterest-perfect guest list. But nope, there it was, a text from Ava, asking if I could make it. I actually stared at my phone for a solid minute before responding. Then I texted back, wouldn't miss it. Let me know if I should bring anything. She replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a just bring yourself message, which felt warm, if a little rehearsed. I tried not to read too much into it. I spent the next week planning. I even got a new blazer, not fancy, just clean and fitted, something that said, "I'm proud of you," without trying too hard. I bought them a gift, a custom cutting board engraved with their names and engagement date, something practical but meaningful. Wrapped it up in silver paper with a white bow and everything. The venue was this semi-outdoor garden spot Ava had posted about on Instagram, fairy lights in the trees, white roses winding up wooden trellises. When I arrived, I could already hear the sound of glasses clinking and low music playing. People were mingling, laughing, hugging. I approached the check-in table. Yes, there was a check-in table where Ava's younger cousin from her dad's side, Mia, was holding a clipboard. She glanced at me, blinked like she wasn't expecting me, and then did this little awkward pause. "Oh, Mark. Right. You're Linda's sister's kid." Yeah," I said, trying to keep it light. "I'm Ava's cousin. On my mom's side." She scribbled something quickly on the clipboard and handed me a name tag. "Just head down the path. Should be somewhere near the fountain area." The path wound through a row of trimmed hedges, and as I rounded the corner, I saw the setup. Rows of white chairs facing a small stage where Ava and Bryce were standing, waving at guests. Long tables were lined with white cloth, candles, and personalized place cards. A waiter walked by with mini crab cakes. Everyone looked like they stepped out of a catalog. I stood there for a moment, scanning the tables. That's when I heard it, my Aunt Linda's voice. Sharp. Distinct. "Oh, we didn't think you'd actually show." I turned my head and there she was, standing with two other aunts and sipping something from a flute. She was looking right at me, eyes flicking from my face down to my shoes. I froze. Just for a second. Long enough for her to turn back to her friends and add, in a not-so-hushed tone, "Guess we'll need another chair, maybe an extra plate if there's still food in the back." Her friends laughed. Not loud, not cartoonishly cruel, just the kind of snickering that cuts deeper because it's quiet. Real. I didn't say anything. I smiled faintly, walked a little further into the space, and tried again to find my name. Nothing. Not on the main tables. Not even at the overflow table by the bar where a few high school friends were clustered. There wasn't a single empty seat. I stood by the gift table for a second, clutching the bag like an idiot. The whole setup suddenly felt too perfect, too staged, like I was a background extra who wandered into a scene I didn't belong in. No one waved. No one even made eye contact. It wasn't that they were rude, just busy, laughing, drinking, being family. I placed the gift down gently and walked out. No drama. No speech. No accusations. Just me, walking back down that little path past the hedges, the music fading behind me. When I got to my car, I sat there for a while. Not crying, not fuming, just still. Tired, maybe. Not physically. Just tired of pretending like showing up would ever be enough. That night, I went to my buddy Eric's place. We grilled burgers, drank beer, and watched a movie we'd seen a dozen times before. At one point, his girlfriend asked, "Weren't you supposed to be at some fancy party?" I laughed. "Changed plans," I said. Before I went to bed, I posted a picture of the three of us on the couch, me holding a plate of fries, Eric flipping off the camera, and Jen making some ridiculous face, and I captioned it, "Grateful for the ones who actually want me around." I didn't tag anyone. No dramatic hashtags. Just that. The next morning, my phone was blowing up. Missed calls. Messages. Notifications. The first was from Ava. "Hey, are you okay?" Then Linda. "That post was totally unnecessary, Mark." Then Mia. "You made things really awkward, just for your information." And then a voicemail from my dad's brother, Uncle Tom, who never calls me. His message? "Look, I don't know what happened last night, but Linda's in one of her moods, and now there's talk about how you shamed the family online. Just maybe call someone and explain." I didn't respond. Not right away. Because the truth was, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like explaining myself. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about one party. It was about years of being treated like a footnote. Years of being tolerated instead of welcomed. Years of showing up and hoping that maybe, this time, someone would act like I belonged. But they never did. And now, maybe they'd finally know what that felt like. I didn't reply that morning. Or that afternoon. I left every message unread, every voicemail untouched. Not out of spite, though I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel a little satisfying, but because I needed to sit with it. With the silence. With the truth that maybe I didn't owe them anything anymore. That evening, I went for a walk. My apartment's in this quiet neighborhood near a small park. I left my phone on the counter and just wandered, hands in my jacket pockets, watching the wind shake loose petals from the blooming trees. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to perform being okay. I just was. When I got home, I finally opened my messages, not all of them, just Ava's. She'd sent 3 in a row. "Hey Mark, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I didn't know there wasn't a seat for you. I swear I asked Mia to add you to the table list. Please don't let Aunt Linda get in your head. She's just, you know how she is." It was nice. Sort of. But it still didn't sit right. Ava had always been the polished one, the golden niece, but also the one who avoided conflict like it was contagious. She'd always been kind to me in that passive, surface-level way. The kind where you smile in group photos but never actually check in. So I didn't respond right away. Instead, I opened the message from Aunt Linda, and I swear I heard her tone echo in my head as I read it. "Mark, I think it's incredibly rude that you would use social media to attack your family when we've always included you. Maybe next time, if you're feeling left out, you should speak up instead of trying to embarrass people publicly." I read that one 3 times, my jaw tightening more with every pass. The nerve of her acting like I was the one who'd ruined the night. Like I had just randomly invented the part where she looked me up and down and mocked me for even showing up. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just blame, as usual. I thought about responding. I even typed out a paragraph, something along the lines of, "Maybe if you didn't treat me like a stray dog who wandered in from the street, I wouldn't have to make any kind of post." But I deleted it. She wasn't worth the energy. The next few days were weird. My cousin Darren texted me a simple, "You good?" which was a surprise because we'd barely talked since he got married. My other cousin Elena messaged, "Saw your post." Honestly, I get it. A few of the younger cousins even followed me on Instagram, like I'd suddenly become interesting now that I stirred the pot. But what really threw me off was the call from Grandma. She rarely calls anymore. Her eyesight isn't what it used to be, and she gets flustered with her cell. But this time she did. I almost didn't pick up, thinking it was another guilt trip in the queue, but something told me to answer. Her voice was soft, a little raspy. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. "I saw the picture you posted." I held my breath. "Yeah." There was a pause. Then, "Good. I'm glad you were with people who made you smile." That hit me harder than I expected. Grandma was never the loudest in the room, but she saw things. Always had. And in that one sentence, I felt more validation than I had from the rest of the family in years. She didn't lecture me. Didn't try to play peacekeeper. Just said she understood. After we hung up, I thought about everything that had happened. The party. The messages. The fallout. And I started to see it for what it really was, not just a single snub, but the final straw in a long line of casual dismissals and quiet cruelty. I started gathering old photos that week. Not for revenge, not yet, but for clarity. I dug out pictures from when we were kids, me and Ava in matching sweaters at Christmas, me standing awkwardly on the edge of the family reunion group photo, half blocked by someone else's arm. I found pictures of my mom, too bright-eyed, laughing, her arm around Aunt Linda before everything got cold. And I found the ones from recent years, the ones where I wasn't in the photo, but I'd been the one taking it. The one holding the camera. The one behind the scenes, quietly included but never invited. I decided I was done being the ghost in the background. That Friday, Ava reached out again. This time with a call. I let it ring once before picking up. "Mark," she said, her voice quiet. "Hey, listen, I know you're upset. And I get it. I really do. But things are kind of tense right now. Aunt Linda's telling everyone you stormed out. That you made a scene. That you refused to sit where you were assigned. Which is just. I didn't have a seat, Ava," I said, calm but firm. "There wasn't a name card. There wasn't even a plate." She exhaled. I know. Mia admitted it. Said she forgot to print your name card because there wasn't room. I was so mad at her, but she's just a kid, and she's 23, I interrupted. She's a college grad, not a toddler. She didn't forget. She followed instructions. There was a pause, a long one. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," Ava finally said. "I just wanted a perfect night, and I wanted to feel like I mattered," I replied. But I guess that was too much to ask. She didn't respond to that. I hung up. The next day, I posted another picture. This time, it was a side-by-side. On the left, a photo from 10 years ago, me standing at the very back of a family portrait, barely visible. On the right, me, last week, surrounded by friends, laughing over a grill. The caption? 10 years of being invisible. I think I like this view better. It got more likes than anything I'd ever posted. And more silence from the family chat. Until Monday. That's when I got the text. "Aunt Linda, your behavior is unacceptable. You're tearing this family apart over a seat. You need to apologize." That's when everything shifted. Because for the first time, I wasn't the one quietly swallowing the disrespect. I wasn't the one avoiding conflict. I wasn't the one hoping things would magically get better. No, I was done playing the role they wrote for me. And what I did next? Let's just say the apology didn't come from me. I didn't reply to Aunt Linda's text. Not right away. Not with an apology. Instead, I took a screenshot of her message, the part where she accused me of tearing the family apart over a seat, and saved it in a folder I'd just created on my desktop titled Receipts. Because I wasn't about to fight this one through texts. I'd done that before. Sent polite responses, long explanations, careful messages that were picked apart, misunderstood, or conveniently ignored. Not this time. This time, I was going to let the truth speak for itself. A few days passed, and the dust started to settle, or so I thought. I was back at work, keeping my head down, focusing on a client presentation, when I got a ping on Slack from a coworker named Riley. "Hey Mark." Random, but is this your aunt? Attached was a screenshot of a Facebook post from Aunt Linda's account. It read, "When family members use social media to bully and manipulate, it's hurtful. We invited everyone with love, but some people just want to play victim. Don't believe everything you see online." There were no names. But I didn't need names. Neither did anyone else. Her friend group, mostly other middle-aged women with Bible verse bios and live, laugh, love headers, were already commenting. "So sorry you're going through this, Linda. Some people just want attention. You deserve peace. Don't let the negativity in." I didn't even know they followed me. But clearly, they'd seen the post I made. Maybe Ava showed them. Or maybe Linda had been lurking. Either way, she was twisting it, trying to get ahead of the narrative like I was the one dragging the family through the mud. I didn't reply to the post. Didn't comment. I just took another screenshot and added it to the receipts folder. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I messaged Grandma. Not a text. A letter. I printed it, folded it neatly, and mailed it to her house. In my own handwriting. No sarcasm. No drama. Just the truth. I told her what happened. Step by step. From the moment I got the invite, to showing up and being told I wasn't expected, to quietly leaving without making a scene, to being blamed for publicly shaming the family for posting a photo with people who actually cared about me. I didn't ask for her to pick sides. I just said, "I know you've always tried to keep the peace. But peace shouldn't mean one person always has to eat the insult and smile through it." A week later, I got a reply. A handwritten note in return, in Grandma's cursive I could barely read without squinting. "You've never caused trouble, Mark. I see that now. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. You've always been there for us, even when no one was there for you. I love you, and I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Visit soon." I nearly cried reading it. But the real twist came not from Grandma, but from Ava. She texted me 2 days later. I didn't know she posted that. I'm so sorry. She's saying horrible things about you in the group chat. I didn't even know there was a family group chat I wasn't part of. Typical. She added. I told her to take it down. She refused. So I left the chat. And so did Elena. That was the first domino. Then Darren texted me. Then Elena. Then my second cousin Ben. They'd all seen Linda's post. They'd all heard her calling me ungrateful and dramatic. And for the first time, instead of laughing it off or ignoring it, people were pushing back. Not because I asked, but because the pattern had become too obvious to ignore. A few even unfriended Linda. That part wasn't supposed to matter, but it did. And then, a message from Ava again. Bryce and I are doing a small wedding. Just immediate family and a few close friends. I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to officiate. I read it 3 times. I thought about that night in the garden. Me standing at the edge of a perfect little world I'd never been invited into. And now, the girl at the center of it was asking me to stand at the front of her wedding? But before I could respond, the final bomb dropped. Aunt Linda called me. Not texted. Called. I stared at the screen for a long second, thumb hovering over decline. But then I picked up. Quietly. No hello. Just waited. She jumped right in. Mark, this has gone too far. Ava's wedding is being turned upside down because of your little social media tantrum. Do you realize how hard I worked to make that engagement party perfect? And you? What? You storm off, make some passive-aggressive post, and now I'm the villain. I let her rant. Let her fill the silence with her usual twisting of the truth. Then, calmly, I said, I didn't make you the villain. You did that all by yourself. She went quiet. For once. I added, you didn't expect me to show up. You didn't plan a seat for me. You didn't think twice about mocking me to my face. But you did expect me to smile and stay quiet. That's not going to happen anymore. Her voice sharpened. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, I replied. I'm putting it in proportion. After years of being treated like I don't matter. She didn't have a comeback for that. So I hung up. Not out of anger. Out of peace. A few hours later, Ava called again. I told her yes. I'd officiate. And I'd do it my way. With one condition. Linda would not be involved in the ceremony. Not in planning. Not in toasts. Not in seating. If that meant the wedding had one less person, so be it. And Ava? She said, without hesitation, done. But that wasn't the end. Because Linda wasn't going to take that sitting down. And the lengths she went to afterward? Let's just say she made one final move. And I made sure it was her last. She didn't take it well. After Ava agreed to keep her mom out of the wedding planning, things spiraled faster than anyone expected. Within hours, Linda had fired off a storm of messages to every relative with a smartphone. It wasn't just complaints anymore, it was full-on character assassination. She told people I was manipulating Ava, that I'd threatened to ruin the wedding, that I'd emotionally blackmailed my own grandmother. It would have been comical if it weren't so exhausting. But here's the thing about reputations, they don't crumble all at once. They crack slowly, like a dam, until the pressure is too much, and then collapse. People had been watching Linda for years. They'd seen her passive-aggressive comments, the favoritism, the little digs she made at anyone who didn't orbit her golden child. They noticed how she always took credit when things went right, and how quick she was to throw someone under the bus when they didn't. So when she started her smear campaign, the only people who really listened were the ones just like her. Everyone else? They backed off. Quietly. Unsubscribed from the drama. Some told her directly. Others just stopped responding. Even Ava's dad, Linda's own husband, texted Ava one night, I love your mother, but she's crossing lines. I support whatever you decide. By the end of the week, Linda wasn't just cut out of the wedding. She was fuming about being cut out of her image. Because that's what this was really about. Control. The show. The perception. And Ava, for once, wasn't playing along. I met with her and Bryce a month before the ceremony. They came over to my place, sat on my balcony with lemonade and chicken shawarma wraps, and told me they wanted the ceremony to be different. Personal. Honest. No fake fluff. No 20-minute sermons about commitment from someone no one had met before. We want someone who actually knows us, Ava said. Not someone who's just going to read a script. I blinked. Are you sure you want me? Ava smiled. Mark. I've spent my whole life watching you show up when no one else did. You never made a scene. You never demanded attention. But you saw people. And that's what this should be about. Not pomp. Just truth. I'd be lying if I said I didn't tear up. So I wrote the speech. Not all at once, bit by bit. I told stories about them. About when Ava sprained her ankle in middle school and Bryce brought her homework every day without being asked. About how they laughed like idiots over burnt pancakes one weekend and said it was the best meal they ever had. About how love isn't a spotlight, it's a campfire. Warm, steady, never asking for applause. Meanwhile, Linda kept trying. She called Ava 3 times. Left voicemails full of guilt, and more guilt. She emailed Bryce's parents to express concern. She even tried to contact the venue directly, claiming to be the mother of the bride and insisting she had authority to change parts of the schedule. But Ava had already warned the venue, and her planner, and the photographer, everyone. If Linda showed up and caused trouble, she'd be escorted out. No exceptions. That's how serious Ava was. And then, the wedding day came. It was in a garden, much like the engagement party, but warmer, softer. There were strings of lights overhead, little lanterns in the trees, and chairs arranged in a crescent around a wooden arch that Ava and Bryce had built themselves. Grandma was in the front row, wearing a powder blue dress and a wide-brimmed hat, beaming like she was watching the sun rise for the first time. I stood at the front, hands folded, notes in my pocket, but I didn't need them. Ava walked down the aisle with no drama. No stage mom antics. Just music, tears, and Bryce waiting like she was his entire world. When it came time for the ceremony, I took a breath and started. Love, I said, is not loud. It's not a performance. It's not about centerpieces or social media posts. Love is quiet work. It's listening when it would be easier to talk. It's staying when it would be easier to leave. It's remembering the small things when no one else is watching. I watched their eyes glisten, saw Grandma dab at hers. And sometimes, I added, love is also about boundaries. About choosing the people who choose you back. About protecting the peace you build together. Ava nodded. Bryce squeezed her hand. We finished the ceremony, and when I pronounced them husband and wife, there was a cheer, not wild, but real, intimate. The reception after was small, under 50 people. There was dancing, laughter, awkward toasts, and the best lemon cake I've ever tasted. Linda? She didn't show. Oh, she threatened to, right up until the night before. Sent one last text to Ava. You'll regret this. When people ask why your mother isn't at your wedding, what will you say? Ava didn't respond, but I know what she would have said. She'd say, because I finally chose peace. The fallout afterward was short-lived. Linda tried to spin it, of course. Claimed she wasn't invited. That she graciously stepped back to avoid ruining Ava's big day. But people knew better. They'd seen the screenshots. They'd heard the voicemails. They knew the truth. And truth doesn't need a spotlight. It just waits. A few weeks later, Ava posted a photo from the wedding. It was me, standing between her and Bryce, holding the little binder I'd used to write the vows. The caption read, to the cousin who always stood at the edge of the room. Thank you for finally standing in the center. You made it perfect. I read it at 2 a.m., sitting on my couch in sweatpants, eating leftover pizza. And I cried. Because for years, I told myself I didn't need validation. That being tolerated was enough. That being overlooked wasn't personal. But it was. And now, I wasn't overlooked anymore. I was chosen. By the ones who mattered. And Aunt Linda? Well, she still sends her holiday newsletters. Still makes her posts about ungrateful family members. Still hosts brunches where she pretends the only people who matter are the ones who agree with her. But fewer people show up now. Because slowly, quietly, people are waking up. Not to hate her. Just to stop fearing her. And me? I've started hosting my own dinners. Just a few friends, a couple cousins, Grandma when she's up for it. No head table. No hierarchy. Just people who make space for each other. And this time, I always make sure there's a seat for everyone. Especially the ones who were once told they weren't expected.